Good afternoon. I'm Dara Bunjon. I'm the food enthusiast here at Jamer Living. I'm a food writer, food stylist, PR maven, and a frustrated baker. Those of you joining us live, please feel free to jump in, leave a comment, ask a question. I will check from time to time. I'm excited to have Kitty Morse, award-winning cookbook author, travel writer, and as she describes herself, a passionate culinary adventurer. She was born shortly after World War II in Casablanca, Morocco, to a French mother and British father. The family immigrated to the US when she was 17, and I believe she went for her MBA at the University of Wisconsin-Milwaukee. She is the author of 9 cookbooks, 2 memoirs as well, which have recipes. Her latest memoir is Bittersweet, a wartime journal and heirloom recipes from occupied France. This was really a passion project for her, and we'll get into that. But let me welcome Kitty. Hi,
Hi, thank you.
Kitty.
Oh, hi. Hi from California.
Well, thank you. And I hear it's nice and warm out there, and it's definitely Uh, snowing here. It was 80 degrees yesterday, and it's snowing. I'm seeing it right out the window after this, and just doing the technical stuff. Thank you for joining us. As we said, it's sort of early morning out there in Vista, California. California.
Mm,
Other than today's show, what else do you have on your plate to do
You mean today?
today?
Oh my goodness. Well, one of my favorite things is a walk around a harbor in Oceanside, California. We're located just south of Camp Pendleton, out of Orange County. And in Oceanside, we have a wonderful harbor. Actually, one of the best kept secrets, I think, on the coast. So I'm going in 80-degree weather, hitting 90-degree weather for a walk by the sea. Yeah.
Well, I'm definitely looking at the snow we've had. Not the best of winters over here in the Baltimore, Maryland, DC area with the big icy snow, but we got a taste yesterday and the day before of warm weather, and now we're back to maybe 50-degree weather.
Mm.
The snow's not going to last. So I'm always curious about the family table. And growing up, during Casablanca. I have not met anybody else who was born
It's
in
true.
Casablanca, Morocco.
Yeah.
And I'm curious with the British father, the French mother, being in Casablanca, what your family table was like and your siblings. So could you tell us a bit about that?
Sure, I'd love to. Well, yes, I was born in Casablanca. That sounds rather sort of off the charts, but my father got to Morocco during the war. He was in the Royal Air Force and repaired Spitfires, sent them back to Europe so they could use them again, for the war effort. But Casablanca is a very, still to this day, cosmopolitan city. And when I grew up, it was even more so. So my environment was speaking French to my mother, English to my father, in an Arab Muslim environment, which is fine. And of course, there was a huge Sephardic community at the time, not so much. And that was also part of my maternal lineage. So I grew up with all these influences and it's very fortunate. So the table reflected this. Um, and we celebrated just everything. I mean, I went to school to a French lycée, and everybody went to the French lycée. My Muslim friends, my Jewish friends, my Chilean friends, my Japanese friends, my you name it. And we went to each other's homes. And so I was introduced to a variety of foods very early on, including Vietnamese, because we had a big Vietnamese community. And when I came to the United States and I went to a Chinese restaurant, because we call them le Chinois, the Chinese,
Mhm.
and I had Chinese food. So that's not Chinese food. I've never had that because it was Cantonese and I knew Vietnamese. So you see what it was like. And we also celebrated um, whatever, holy days and special days. And my mother cooked French. So I grew up with French bourgeoise cuisine. That's the subject of my book I'm going to talk about, Bittersweet. I had no idea where it came from, but we had French food. So my mother was a great French cook. So was my grandmother, because we lived, they were in Morocco at the time. I went to visit my grandmother in England. So, and my mother would cook English specialties for my father. I mean, there were hot cross buns, and there was, lamb with mint sauce, and Yorkshire pudding. So, and then we went to my great grandma, my Sephardic grandma, because my in my mother's lineage, a Sephardic from Algeria. So there's a line of Sephardic Jews from Algeria, and the line of Ashkenazi Jews I'm going to talk about. And so, oh, I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry.
You're
I'm
fine.
sorry, I'm sorry, sorry. She's, don't listen to that. And so we went to my great grandmother's for Jewish celebrations, for Passover sometimes. And I did write a book about the Sephardic cuisine of Morocco. One of my favorite things is fresh fava bean soups with cilantro. Love that thing. And cabbage soup for Rosh Hashanah with lots of turmeric. So all this, you're asking me about the family table, and this was it. Tarte aux pommes was there, and the bûche de Noël is one of our specialties. I mean, I could go on and on, but never realizing the richness that I was living in.
Right.
And I didn't cook when I was in Morocco, because my mother cooked, and she had, everybody had a maid that helped, but my mother was the main cook until I came to the United States, and people started asking me, well, what do you eat in Morocco? What's Moroccan food? And I would call my great grandmother and say, oh, what do we eat over there? So I can show my roommates. And that's how it started. But I have
Oh,
to tell you, my favorite food is couscous, not bar none.
well,
Anything, yeah, couscous is it.
well, I think that's sort of synonymous with Moroccan food,
Yeah.
is couscous. And I had a discussion with a chef that couscous was a pasta because it's
Mm-mm.
similar.
Yes, okay. Continue, please. Couscous is a pasta. Couscous is, I wrote a book on couscous as well. Couscous, fresh and I use my book all the time with contemporary and traditional recipes. So I explain in the book, couscous is made from durum wheat semolina. It's a pasta-like product. And it's made from this semolina, which is ground to very, very fine pellets. The Israeli couscous, I have to say, is not couscous, please. No. So I'm talking about the couscous of North Africa. And so very, very fine, like semolina. And then it is rolled with, well, I'm making the motion here like this, in a big in a big platter with flour, salt, and water, and you roll this semolina until it adopts, it becomes a bit thicker. And the big difference with couscous is that couscous is steamed. It is never boiled. Parenthesis, I use the Trader Joe's couscous where you add the liquid. Okay, I mean, it's good. However, traditionally, couscous is steamed. So it is a pre-steamed product. And
Right.
then it is dried. So when you buy it, you are rehydrating this product. But it's the same durum wheat semolina. I mean, there's a soft wheat and a hard wheat. And so that's what the real couscous is. And I'm saying I love couscous, but it has to be couscous in the style of Casablanca, which is served with 7 different kinds of fresh vegetables, sometimes with beef, sometimes with lamb. So the stew for the couscous is not a side dish. Couscous is the main meal on Friday, the Muslim day of rest when the men come back from the mosque. I mean, 99% of Morocco will sit down around a dish of couscous. And we often had couscous on Fridays because that's what everybody cooked on Fridays. So yeah, it is pre-steamed and it is dried and it is rehydrated, and that is the big difference. So it's is, with pasta you don't do. The Israeli couscous is a pasta. It's a Lebanese pasta that the Israelis called couscous. And at first in my book, I don't even mention it. I called the importer in New York. I said, you know that it's not couscous. He said, yes, but somebody invented this name. But I see that now it's been corrected. I'm very
Yeah.
happy. It's called
No,
Israeli couscous, and that's fine.
it's their vision of it.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, I'm curious, was English your major at university, or what was your major? And this is just totally a new path that you went in.
Okay, no. I was brought up bilingually. In Morocco, I went to my mother's French. My French is really my first language. I went to the lycée, and but I always spoke English to my father and French to my mother. So that when I came to America, I could speak English. I mean, I learned American. I spoke fine. I mean, that's what I was here for. So I was very lucky. I mean, I was an English speaker. And I majored in French and I no, I'm sorry. I what was my BA? My BA was in French. Yeah. And then my MA was also in French. And then I started an MA in Spanish, but I never finished. Yeah, French. And then I taught, I was a TA and that kind of thing.
Okay, so let's explain to people how your career started. And it was at university, wasn't it?
Yes, I met my husband, co-author, well, really his co-author, he's not co-author, but the who edited my latest book and who died 3 days before my book came out. So I met my husband in Milwaukee. He's a Milwaukee guy. And he went to dental school at Marquette, and I finished my MA. And while we were, penniless and whatever, I mean, we had to earn some money. So I started catering Moroccan parties in Milwaukee. They had never seen that. My husband built me a tent and we walked in people's living rooms, we moved everything out, and I had the Moroccan rugs and the Moroccan pillows and the low tables, and I cooked 7 course meals because that's a DIFA, it's a Moroccan feast, the tagines and the couscous and the pastries, you name it, mint tea. And then I hired the belly dancers to dance on the tables. Milwaukee had never seen anything like it. So I made a little bit of pocket money while my husband was finishing dental school. And then
This was in the 70s, wasn't it?
yeah, well, late 60s too.
Late
Well, no,
60s.
70, no, sorry, late 60s. No, I'm old, forget. Yes, in the very early 70s, because when he finished dental school, Owen joined the Navy as a dentist, and they sent us to Coronado, California, which is a whole other episode. And that's how we got to California. And I started cooking in California all the while calling my great grandmother and saying, how do you make this tagine? But it
Right.
worked.
But when you were in university, early 70s, you said it was pretty unique for Milwaukee. That was pretty unique for even New York City at that time.
I know. I know that. And it was actually, I have to tell you a funny thing. I mean, here I am, come from Casablanca, and I want to make couscous, and there is no cilantro in the grocery store. I mean, that was tragedy in Milwaukee and elsewhere. So I used to go to the Cuban stores and the Vietnamese markets. And my grandfather, who came from Algeria and emigrated here, had to order couscous by the case from somebody in New York. Forget the name of the importer. So we got our couscous from New York shipped to Milwaukee. That's true.
Well, I can believe it. Look,
Yeah.
I'm the same generation as you, so
Uh-huh.
I understand what's been available and when it came out and how outstanding. It went, oh wow,
Yeah,
so
yeah, yeah. I mean, and people didn't know how to spell Morocco. I have to say that all the time. It was 2 R's and 1 C. No, it's 1 R and 2 C. I mean, really, it was an unknown. And in a way, it served me well. I mean, I kind of rode the wave, and all I really knew best was food. So
I
there you are. Yeah.
have to tell you, I'm looking at my notes. I have Morocco spelled correct on one, spelled incorrect
There
on the
you
other.
go. 1 R and 2 C's.
Yes, yes, yes. Um, okay, so you were doing the DIFAs?
Yes.
you know,
Feasts.
right, the feast came Owen, and may he rest. I was sorry to hear about your loss. He was so integral to
He
what you
was.
do in your life, and it
He
was a
was.
terrible loss. Um, so the first cookbook I think was Come With Me to the Casbah.
Yes, A Cook's Tour of Morocco.
Okay.
Because on request, really. I mean, that was my first book where really didn't know what I was. Well, I knew what I was doing, but I was learning, and it was printed in Morocco, so I imported all. I mean, it's gone now. I mean, it's kind of a collector's item somewhere along the line, and all I would again family recipes. Because all my books are really very personal and based on people I know, farmers I know, family recipes. And I discovered the richness of Moroccan food through writing this, and I ate the food, but I never wrote down the recipes. And in it, I actually had a section on, I call it Moroccan Jewish cuisine. I mean, Sephardic food from my great grandmother, and it's illustrated by 12 of Morocco's leading artists at the time. They did that for
Oh,
me. So, because I said, I'm doing this in America. I'm shipping. I mean, I knew I was sort of in those circles in Morocco, and so it's very, very special. And I don't know. I don't have any more, so it's on somewhere in the ether.
well, let's put it this way. There are two, at least on Facebook, two gigantic um, Facebook page for cookbook collectors. So
Oh,
people can go on there and ask if anybody has it. And they might be able to go. I had Eat Your Books on last week. So they
oh,
might be able to go on there and find something on it.
okay.
Uh, so, all right. So come the 90s, you were very prolific. Let's see. In 1994, the California Farm Cookbook,
I love it.
365 Ways to Cook Vegetarian, Edible Flowers, 1996, A Vegetarian Table, North Africa, 1998, A Biblical Feast, 1998, Cooking at the Casbah, which was a really, really big hit
Mm.
and really brought you on board. That is 6 cookbooks in 10 years.
I know it's.
Wow.
I mean, I don't know what to say. I was very lucky. Morocco was just coming on. And so that's why I have 5 cookbooks on Morocco. And then I was, again, personal, and then the vegetarian came on request. Of course, North African cuisine is full of vegetarian dishes because meat is so expensive. So that's not a problem. I know, I've eaten them all. But the California farm cookbook is very close to my heart because at that time I was a columnist for the Los Angeles Times here in San Diego. And I was writing a column on local farms. I just thought I mean, we have the most family farms in the United States in San Diego County, and I got very involved with my farmers market. So I wrote this column for the Times every week, and then the column, the LA Times, sort of faded away. But I thought, oh, this is really fun. So I went up and down the California and interviewed hundreds, literally, of farmers because I loved it, and I still do. It's very close to my heart. And this was in the 90s. I just want to say that family farms, and I wish I could redo my book, but it was a labor of love, and it's a shame. Many of the farms have disappeared. California Farm Cookbook.
Yes.
Great
So,
recipes, yeah.
well, let me take this time to sit there and tell our guests or people who are watching or will be watching the video. You'll learn everything you need to know, things that we're talking about at kittymorse.com. And you know how to spell it. Her name's right up here on the screen. Also, she has a free Substack, which is the Casbah Chronicles on Substack. So you can go sign up there or through her website to get the articles that she's putting out, the Casbah Chronicles. And that's going to be coming up at some point in the comments section. All right, so You did your first memoir, which was Mint Tea and Minarets, a banquet of Moroccan memories.
Yes.
Tell us a bit more about that.
Yes, and it's practically out of print. Again, you know how you get ideas there. You just put your hands out there and they fall in there and you want, what am I going to do with this?
Right.
Actually, but Minty is based on a riad. A riad is a Moroccan mansion that my father owned for 65 years. About 80 miles, no, 80 kilometers south of Casablanca, in a little town that you wouldn't come to unless you came to visit me. Zemmour, on the way south. So he bought this riad and he restored it. And I used to take, I took tours to Morocco for 23 years, back and forth, food tours. And I used to cook at my kasbah. And it was a magical place. And I had to sell it. I had to sell it last year, but I needed to tell the story of the house is called Dar Zitoun, the house of the olive tree. I don't know what the new owners are going to call it, and it's about 250 years. I mean, I could, a mansion in ruins that my father rebuilt. And as I was standing there, I had to tell the story, our story at Dar Zitoun. There was a story before us, but for a European gentleman, a British guy, to buy a house at Dar Zitoun, I mean, in Azemmour in 1964, people thought he was nuts. Yeah, they did. My father was a sort of a visionary, and he opened up Morocco to tourism, to English-speaking travelers in the late 50s. So, that's what he did. Um, and Dar Zitoun has a great history. And then I added my own because when I went there, I cooked and I hired half the cooks in the village, and I also hired the dancers and the henna people. I mean, they all knew. Madame Kitty is coming with a group. Okay, we're gonna have a good time. And the recipes evolved when I went back and forth to the village, and we also had a fabulous cook. Well, he was a man of all, did everything for my father, and a terrific cook. And I would pick his brain when I was there because Morocco has lots of regional cuisines. I mean, the coast is different than inland, the north is from the south. The Sephardic cuisine from the north is Spanish influence, the French one, it's got a lot of aspects.
I don't think people realize how
No.
large Morocco is. It's almost twice the size of Portugal. And I had Janet Mendel. I don't know if you ever met her
Oh
through
yeah, yeah. No,
Robinson.
but we have spoken. She's in Spain, isn't she? She's in
Right.
Spain. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But she's in Andalusia and she can
And
see
there's yeah,
Africa from
yeah.
her house.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Well, yeah, if you're in Tangier, you suddenly see Gibraltar.
Yes.
But so I gathered a whole bunch of really home style regional recipes, and I told the story of there's only 32 recipes in it, but I tell the story, my story there. One episode is on my spice vendor, who's also he creates things for you to attract your husband kind of thing. I went to visit the hawk, the people who hunt with hawk. I mean, all these people are
It
in
sounds
my neighborhood.
fascinating.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
really is. It was for me. I needed to tell the story of this place, and I have done it. And in honor of my father, who rebuilt, original tiles, and it's quite something. Yeah.
Didn't your late husband do the same thing to your cottage in California to
No, no,
make it
I
look
don't.
Moorish?
Well, no, it's not a cottage. No, I live in Vista, and yes, my husband built a riad for us in Vista. I do. I live in a Moroccan home. I mean, not the size of Dar Zitoun, but my husband was a dentist and retired and decided he wanted to build a Moroccan home, which is where I live right now. And yes, he did bake his own tiles. Oh, a special green that lines all the roofs of the mosques because green was a favorite color of the Prophet, but it's a special green. So when I used to go to Fez, I took my groups to Fez and you visit all these places, the tile places and the rug places. And so I carried home with me some of the tiles, and my husband copied them. And I have Moroccan,
Fabulous.
yeah, yeah, and the wrought iron too. I mean, it's as original as we could make with our funds, but he did everything. Yeah, it's quite something.
Right. I'm just curious, um, with all the tours that you took to Morocco, what did your guests find most illuminating about Morocco? What they go, I never knew this, I didn't know that. Was there any one thing or a couple things that really stand out as people took the tours and how they felt about Morocco?
Yeah, they did. I mean, I took people there in 1980. Um, Morocco is, first of all, very westernized, if you would. Morocco is only 30 miles off Spain. So what surprised them is, oh, you know, the roads are good, the trains are good, the food is wonderful, the people are very friendly, and it's terribly varied. It's a very small country. I think it's, as you said, twice Portugal, once Texas or something. So you go from top to bottom, maybe 18 hours, and now they have freeways everywhere. So it's very varied. When I say the food is varied, it's because the people are varied. First of all, Morocco was a French colony for 50 years. People don't realize the imprint of that. So French is the second language now, although English is fast replacing it. I know Morocco is very popular this year. I mean, it's very, very westernized because it's the closest to Europe. And historically, Morocco was the first country to recognize the independence of the newly formed United States in 1789. George Washington corresponded with the Sultan because of the Barbary pirates. The Barbary pirates attacked the American ships. The Americans got sick of it. And so the politicians got involved. You know, enough of your Barbary pirates. We need to get into the Mediterranean. So it goes very far back.
Yes.
And the surprise is the variety. I mean, everybody's taking the same tour. I see, you know, you do the tour of this, the tour of that. It's, you know, the imperial cities, and then you go to the desert, and then you come back to Marrakesh, which is now sort of Disneyland, and then you come to the coast. So, and in very little time. I mean, it's very varied, very interesting to visit. Lots of history, Muslim history, French history, Jewish history that goes back probably to biblical times because the Jews walked around the Mediterranean, you know, before the Muslim invasion in the 680s. So I don't know where else to go from here, but it's very varied, very interesting. Just
Yeah.
bargain when you're in a store. Just bargain.
All right. Thank you for sharing more information because I don't think people know much about Morocco. You know, it's always Spain or it's France or it's Italy, uh, maybe the Asian countries, but I don't hear much about going to Africa or Morocco or
North
Tanzania,
Africa, North
North
Africa.
Africa.
I mean, I have to say that because I've never been to the Sub-Sahara, and Sub-Sahara to us is Africa, you know, c'est l'Afrique. North Africa is unique. First of all, oh, I forgot to mention, Morocco, Algeria, Tunisia are home to the Berber people who have their own language and who are coming back out now after being oppressed by the Arab invasion. But now Berbers are, and they have their own language, and they're the only white-skinned people indigenous to Africa. As an
Mm,
aside,
oh,
it's yeah, there are black Berbers also that come from the desert, but Fez and the northern Morocco, you'll see
mm,
blonde and blue-eyed, and it's very varied, very, very
yeah.
varied.
Well, I have to tell people to dig into at least these two memoirs, and let's get to your passion project, which was Bittersweet, a wartime journal and heirloom recipes from occupied France. And I will just give a little bit of information that this is based on a valise found in your mother's closet. And I'm just going to open up the doorway to you, and I have no doubt that you'll fill us all in on the story
Thank
behind it.
Well, it's a unique, again, one of those projects, kind of like Minty and Mirror. I'm standing in Darcy too, and I have to tell this story. This one is quite astounding to me, and it opened a path onto a lineage of the family I was not familiar with. I mean, I've told you one. My mother died in 2027, left a suitcase in her closet, and I took the suitcase back to my home. I had never opened it. I knew it was a treasure of hers. There were some things in it, but she had never opened it. I did not really know what was in it. I really didn't. I knew it was a family thing. It was handed down from her father to her, and now I have this, and I just put it on a shelf because I had a funny feeling. I don't know if I really want to know what's inside. And then COVID came. So this was maybe 2, 3 years later, I bring it to my home. And during COVID, of course, scratched my head. What am I going to do? Am I going to write another book? My husband said, don't you even think about it. And then it's a lot of work. My husband, we work together. He was my editor, my food photographer, food stylist, and it's a lot of work, as you know.
Yes.
So one day I decide to, okay, I open the suitcase, as I say in the introduction, and I'm faced with documents from my mother's um, side of the family. Excuse me, they were from Alsace-Lorraine in northeast France. And I knew vaguely my mother went to spend her holidays there when she was a young woman just before the war. She used to talk about her great grandmother. She named me after her. My third name is Blanche, and it's Blanche, but truly had no idea. And I opened this petite valise noire, and I find photos of my great grandmother Blanche in Belle Époque costumes, 1890 in Alsace-Lorraine, and my great grandfather, who became her husband, Prosper Lévy-Némarque, war journal chronicling the advance of the Nazis from 1940, from April to December 1940. And I mean, I was speechless. What do I do with this? And I started reading it. It's beautifully written, beautiful penmanship. It's all in French, 120 pages of a very small little carnet like this, a little notebook. And I just, uh, I don't know what to say. I sat back and my breathless. And I continue digging in this suitcase, kind of a little bit like, archaeological dig. And I find more suitcases. I found more documents. And I find my great-grandfather's, um, how should I say, document how he was twice the awardee of the Légion d'honneur, which is a big deal
From
during the
World
war,
War
after the
One.
war, yeah, World War One. One. So this was, I'm talking about World War II in my book, but this was one. And underneath all that, two little notebooks filled with his wife's recipes in French. Uh, so kind of digested, so to speak. And went through it. And I thought, okay, this is what am I going to do? I mean, it became a tremendous responsibility. It really did. I mean, I don't have any children, and I felt in a few days I needed to tell the story. So I translated some of the journals for my husband because into English, and I thought, oh, and I mean, what does what a cookbook also do with recipes? You write another book. Okay, okay. And we angsted for 3 months, how and to introduce and what to do. And my husband said, you have to translate this journal. And I said, but Owen, it's a cookbook. I don't, it's not, you have to put the journal in. So my cookbook, is much more than a cookbook. It's a memoir and it's historical documents um, about what happened to the Jews of Alsace-Lorraine, which, by the way, was and still probably is the most anti-Semitic area of France, which I mean, I didn't know. I mean, I've not been the subject of this, but it's a fact. And so he describes in this how the first refugees from Germany were the Germans fleeing the Nazis. And then it was very, very insidious. The Nazis came in and they took the wood and they took the food and they did. So it was also the four coldest winters ever. And so and he describes all this in a very distinguished, low-key sort of way. It's extraordinary. And he mentioned some foods that he misses. So then I thought, well, okay, there is a little bit of food in here, the croissant, the café au lait, and things like that. And in looking at my great grandmother, his wife's handwritten cook notes, I realized, but I know these, some of them, you know. So this is not a book about Alsace-Lorraine food. This is a book about my food in the family during the war and after. And I realized, you know, I did know. I had eaten this, the gratin dauphinois and some of the cakes and the bûche de Noël and this. Yeah, my grandmother in Morocco made this. That was her mother's booklet. So I include recipes that they specifically made during the war, what they could, and recipes that I knew, but I had no idea of the provenance.
Blanche had a thing for chocolate, didn't
Oh,
she?
she was a chocolate. I channeled her and I said, well, I'm really not a baker. I do bake. I test all my recipes for the kitchen, but I prefer savory to sweet. So I said, Blanche, you have 15 chocolate cakes. In this book, I am not making 15, but I picked two, and they're killers, I have to tell you. One of them is very interesting. It's called Kaluga. Never heard of Kaluga. I had to do a lot of research. And I don't know if you have interviewed Dr. Greg Patton, the baking wizard, who now, anyway, written several books. Greg made some research for me, and he said it's a chocolate cake from the island of Capri. Fine. Anyway, the interesting thing for her cakes, she used a lot of almond flour, which I had never used. So many of these pastries are gluten-free, and here I am using almond flour, which I imagine she had available, or they were almonds in Alsace-Lorraine, you know. So the cakes, but one recipe that my great-grandfather mentions as he is fleeing the bombings from one town to another to live with his daughter, who escaped the Germans on a bicycle into Germany. I mean, there's all these stories. But he ends up in a little village where there were Chalon-sur-Marne was being bombed by the Allies and by the Germans, and Patton liberated Chalon in a nutshell. In between, they had to flee many times because the Germans appropriated their apartment or their house. This. They end up in this village called Rosières, right outside Nancy, because two Catholic women, their daughter said, come here, they'll shelter you in the tunnel. So Blanche and Prosper go to Rosières, go into the tunnel with the priest and the children and the dogs and the cats, and these two women sheltered everyone. And one time he says, I have to escape this. He says, I need a smoke, you know, good Frenchman. So he sits outside and he said, you know, the ladies served me a really good civet of rabbit, a rabbit stew. And of course, I have a rabbit stew in the book, but I always say you can make it with chicken. It's really good as long as you use Riesling wine, because Champagne is the area of Champagne and Riesling is a wine of Alsace. And one of the iconic dishes is sauerkraut, you know, with all sorts of German accents. I mean, they're 50 kilometers from the border. So it was fun to test. And the recipes work. They've always been tested.
I'm just checking my notes. Remind everybody that all the information is up in the comment section, but reach out to kittymorse.com and you'll be able to access her Substack, the Casbah Chronicles.
Please.
What?
I said, please.
Please, yes, do. And guess what, folks? It's free.
Yeah.
Are you currently writing for anyone, any columns? I know that early on that you did some cable shows.
I did. I had two cable TV shows, yeah.
Yeah. And also, you on 2002, the IACP, the International Association of Culinary Professionals, did a culinary concert on Moroccan cultures hosted by Julia Child, and it was all put in your lap, and that you did all of that.
Well, a
I
great honor, great honor. Julia was the attraction, and I cooked a Moroccan meal, and she was very kind. She was a wonderful lady.
Yes, yes, and what a sense of humor.
Yes.
Yes, people don't realize she really. I had the opportunity to be with her at a couple different things, so I agree with that. So remind everybody the book to get, not that there aren't others and you can see them, but the latest book, yes, you'll have recipes. Yes, you'll have good stories. Guess what? You might need a tissue or two.
Mm.
So the book is Bittersweet, a wartime journal and heirloom recipes from occupied France. Now, we could probably talk forever. I think we would both could talk for a couple hours. That's for sure. But I need to wrap this up a bit. So I have questions I ask at the end of the show. And if you could go back and give your 18-year-old self a piece of advice, what would it be?
It would be find your passion and persevere.
And I think you did.
Persevere, persevere. I did. And, do whatever you need. I mean, I had part-time jobs. First of all, I have to say money, cooking, writing a cookbook, especially the first one, is not a money-making proposition. And so that's the catering. I mean, you tie in things. And then you believe you have something to say, and you find the best people to help you and wonderful mentors, like I was very fortunate, and you go for it.
Okay, that's good advice. All right, if you wake up tomorrow morning with a new talent, what would the new talent be?
Singing. I just joined the community chorale. I think singing looks like so much fun. I can't sing. I mean, it's actually I have a good laugh every time I go to rehearsal. Yeah, I'd love to be able to sing.
Well, I take these aqua classes in the warm pool and they play oldies. And I'm over like this one, and somebody new comes in near me. I go, just want to let you know, I sing and I sing out of tune. So forewarned.
Same here.
That's the only place I sing.
Same here.
And people know that. But singing is probably the number one talent that people wish that they would be able to
Really?
do.
Oh yeah.
Yes,
Oh
there are
wow.
other ones.
Yeah.
What two things must be in your refrigerator?
In my refrigerator. I mean, this is coming from Morocco. Um, well, in my fridge, I keep cilantro. Out of my fridge. Excuse me, cilantro and Prosecco. That's in my fridge, and a good chunk of cheese. But I also need cumin and couscous. That is always in my pantry.
Okay.
Cilantro I buy whether I need or not. It's a bit joke.
And you know what? I buy dill.
Yeah, that's
And I like
European. Yeah,
and I like the aroma of dill when I open the refrigerator. There's something fresh smelling about dill, but that's my personal thing.
it's European. That's
Uh,
cilantro is totally North African. Kuzboer.
uh,
Yes.
all right. What was your ultimate culinary fail?
Yeah, that is really when I was catering once, the culinary, I was catering a big dinner and my quiche fell on the floor and I had to pick it up, put it back together and serve it, but don't tell anybody.
I would.
Okay.
Nobody will ever know.
Okay. Actually, I follow. Somebody sent me a card once, and I love it. It's somewhere on my shelf. It says, "What would Julia do?" And Julia picked up her chicken, so I picked up my picked up my quiche. But one of them was a disastrous. Um, testing of a recipe, a very complicated Moroccan recipe, which almost brought my husband and me to the brink of divorce. And it's called hensha in Arabic, meaning the snake. Because in my first book, I gave a lot of pastry recipes. And hensha is phyllo dough filled with almond paste and coiled into a snake. Okay. I'm telling you, it took me 2 weeks to master that snake. And my husband would always bring it up to me. Remember the hensha? That was a disaster.
Oh, okay. What's the best bite you've had all week?
Oh my, uh, a ripe chunk of camembert with a baguette, fresh baguette. And I have to tell you a funny story. I have a young man who is my renter. He's living here, and he's a cheese master, actually Murray's cheese. And he presents cheeses, and he has a cheese club, and he brings camembert, and he puts it in the fridge. And I say, you can't put camembert in the fridge. A French person never puts camembert in the fridge. You put it out on the counter until it runs. And so he leaves like, oh, it's ghastly thing. And I want my runny camembert or my runny brie. There's nothing better. I do not refrigerate them. And I
Oh,
put that on baguette bread.
all
Yes.
right. What didn't I ask you that I probably should have?
I'm not sure what Um, I live in Southern California and I'm staying in Southern California because it's so similar to Morocco, the climate, the topography, the mountains. So it really feels like home. I'm an American. I don't know if that makes head or tail. And I think this is a fantastic country. And I want to visit more of America than go overseas. So I don't people, because I travel a lot, my friends say, you go here and there and everywhere. But I love exploring my surroundings in the United States. And now we have a fabulous food scene everywhere because I travel to eat, I have to say. That's what it is. Thank you so much.
Well, it's been a pleasure, everybody. Kitty Morse, kittymorse.com. And I just have a couple of announcements and thank you for being on the show. And I hope that we remain in contact afterwards. So
Hope
thank
so.
you. All right, everyone. Let me tell you about next week's guest is a very colorful Elise Whitney. She's a journalist for 15 years, mostly focused on food. The Cosmopolitan, focused on food. She's written for Cosmopolitan, calling Doing the Least with Elise. She also hosts and judged numerous reality cooking competitions and author of the cookbook Big Dip Energy. You can reach me at Dara Cooks on Instagram or on Facebook, The Food Enthusiast. jmoreliving.com is a website that you can go to, and on the menu, click food, and under the menu, you will find the Food Enthusiast shows. All 277 of them will be there under the food menu called the Food Enthusiast, and you can link up there for a bi-monthly free food newsletter. All shows are immediately archived in video form on More Living's Facebook page and jmoreliving.com. We truly appreciate it when you share. My mouth is definitely going already. We truly appreciate it when you share our show with friends and family. Feel free to go back into our archives and enjoy past shows. May your plates always, always remain full. Thank you for joining us.